All right. Good morning. It's Friday, September 2nd. I'm going to be changing, as I oftentimes do, my screen share. So if I think something is on the screen and it's not, please let me know right away. What should be up there right now is the email that I sent out this morning. The idea behind today is we're going to do three things. First, I have to talk one more time about Git and GitHub. As it says there, some students are still experiencing problems either creating things in Git, saving them in Git, uploading them to their GitHub repositories or repos. Other people have emailed me that they can't open up my repos. All right, so I plan on going over all of that in just a moment. After we get done with that, I want to do a very quick review on what's due this Sunday. All right. And then finally, I'm going to go through a few select problems for chapters 4 and 5, some lab and some homework problems. All right. And I'm not going to put those in a repo or anything like that. So as it says in these notes that I wrote, there'll be no associated repository. This is homework. Sometimes, it's possible that somebody takes the course next semester and gets either the same homework or something like it. That's why there'll be no repository, and that's why the video will be available on Teams only. I've already been emailed today saying, well, if it's not on YouTube, how do I get to it? There will be a link in there. You should be able to click it and get to it. If for some reason you cannot, you're going to have to let me know. All right. Number 3, all problems, including any problems we did as a class, must be completed and turned in by students using their GitHub repos. Number 4, and I've already mentioned this, there is no class Monday because it's Labor Day. All right, there's nobody here on campus, etc. The school is locked down, so to speak. Speaking of that, Patrick Lynn talked to me yesterday and said, hey, Jeff, only one person in your class has come in and picked up their C# textbook. Please go in and pick them up as soon as you possibly can. Number 5, Tuesday I've changed, so Tuesday will be lab for the entire period. That means since it's lab, I won't be taping anything. I will be online, all right? And if anybody needs help, I'll be able to work with them as needed, but it is a total lab day. So you will have 2 lab days next week, even though it's only a 4-day week. Tuesday will be a lab day. Wednesday will be your next hands-on test, the one for chapters 1 through 5. And as always, I will email it to you by 8 a.m. Wednesday the 7th, and it'll be due by 11:59 p.m. Wednesday the 7th. And I'll expect that to be in a GitHub repo. Number 7, the chapters 4 and 5 homework is going to be due a week from Sunday. So 11:59 p.m. Sunday the 11th. All right. So next week, there'll only be 1 day of lecture because Tuesday will be lab, Wednesday will be the hands-on test, Thursday will be lecture. I'll at least go over chapter 6. I may end up lecturing the entire period other than breaks. And if we do that, we probably can get through 6 and 7. I'm not going to rush to get them through. And as always, I'll make sure that when we do that, I either go through the problem that's in the book or I will go through that payroll problem or something else. All right, so let's take this from the top. All right, so we will talk about Git and GitHub repositories. The first thing about that, all right, the first thing regarding that, I'm changing my share right now to the internet. Now, what I have in front of me, and I will send out the URLs for this, are going to be 2 presentations by a gentleman named Colt Steele. The first one is just under 16 minutes long, and it's called Learning Git in 15 Minutes. Colt is a really good instructor. I've taken a couple courses online through him. Also, he's the kind of guy that if you follow anybody as far as being able to read their code and look at their stuff, he's got about, I'd say somewhere around, I don't know what it is, but it's close to 250,000 followers, 217,000 followers. To put that in perspective, I've got about 200, in fact, less than 200. All right. So I will send this email or this URL out today. Okay. He's also got another one that's called Learn GitHub in 20 minutes. I would suggest if you're still having problems understanding Git and understanding GitHub that you watch both of these. All right. I can't make you do anything. And even if I could, I wouldn't anyway. So this is right under 20 minutes. Finally, let's say you watch it. So you've watched the thing on Git, you've watched the thing on GitHub, and you're still having problems. In the worst case scenario, go out to github.com and make yourself 4 different repositories. They should all start with your name. So if your name is John Smith, it would be John Smith hyphen AWD1100 hyphen HOTS. All right, John Smith hyphen AWD1100 hyphen written tests. John Smith hyphen AWD1100 hyphen labs. John Smith hyphen AWD1100 hyphen homework. So in the worst case, have 4 different repos. Put your name on each repo. Put AWD1100 on each repo. If you want, you can put fall 2022, but you don't have to. And make one for your HOTS, your hands-on tests, one for your labs, one for your homework, and one for your written test. All right, that's okay. But you'll also have to send me invites to each one of those then, so I can grade your homework. Now, the 9 of you who took the test, this past week will all be marked present for this week. You will all be marked present. That said, and I have to change my share again, but that said, what is due this week? All right. Well, first, this was the document that's called ch2_3 labs_new.docx. This homework to review, etc. You don't have to do this, but you are expected to do this problem right here that says write a console program that converts distances from miles to kilometers. These are your requirements. You are expected to follow them to the letter. Yes, we did a program virtually just like this in class, but yes, you are to reproduce it and turn it in. So that's the first homework. I'm sorry, the first lab. The second lab, write another console program that calculates projected raises. Again, these are your requirements. So it should look something like this. That's the output. All right. It should have a name constant called percent raised that's set to 4%. As it says there, you should prompt the user for their name and their salary. You don't have to worry about doing any checks to make sure it's not empty, etc. You don't have to do that. But if I run it and I put in Bob and I put in Fred and I put in Will and I put in Bob's starting salary is 10,000, Fred's starting salary is 20,000, and Will's starting salary is 30,000, I should get output like this. If you want to change this here so it says 2022, 2023, 2024, that's fine. Or you can leave it the way it is. That's also fine. Finally, number 6, write a console program that calculates the average grade for a student. Again, we've done something very, very similar to that. You are still to do the same thing. This number 7 for Pig Latin, you don't have to do that. All right. Now, as far as naming them, you can call them, name them what you want. If you want to call them like Lab 1-1, Lab 1-2, and Lab 1-3, that's fine. All right. Any questions on what's due there? Any questions? All right. Then I'm going to close this. And I'm going to change my share again. And I'm going to change it, where are we here, to my PDF, which is these exercises. All right. There was an exercise for chapter 2 and one for chapter 3. This is the homework. You can combine these into one exercise. Totally fine. Again, this is almost identical to the one that we did in class. You put in a number grade, you click calculate, it gives you a letter grade. They tell you how to set it up here. You do not have to use their names, but if you want to, you can. Again, we did a very similar one to this as a class. These are your requirements here. Then basically all you have to do here is write the code, and they give you the if statements. Now you can do it the way they've done it, which is totally fine. All right. But really you don't need this part right here on any of these. You can just say else if letter grade greater than or equal to B, or to 80 rather, letter grade is B, and then you don't need this, and you don't need this. If you want to do it just the way they've shown it, totally fine, not a problem. All right. The other thing that is due on this Sunday, and we did it as a class, are the written tests for chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. All right, so all of that work is due by 11:59 Sunday the 4th. Now, even though you're marked here, if you don't have your homework turned in by then, you will lose points. Typically, what I've always done is you lose a minimum of 10% for each day that your work is late. All right. So does anybody have any questions on what is due this weekend? Anybody? Again, if you're watching this video on tape, feel free to email me. I'll be online, on and off all weekend long. Okay. All right. Let me jump back then. So we have now talked about GitHub repositories. We have now reviewed the homework that is due this Sunday for chapters 1, 2, and 3. So in just a moment, I'm going to start going through a couple select exercises for chapter 4 and for chapter 5. All right, again, that since I'm doing something that is technically homework, it is not just technically, it is homework. The only tape I plan on making here is the one on Teams. Now, again, for the person who emailed me today and said, well, if you're not putting on YouTube, how do I get to it? You will just click a hyperlink that I will give you. That hyperlink, basically, I just saved the same file, the Teams file. I save that out to my YouTube. All right, that's what I normally do. All right, so let's get going. So the first thing that I'm going to do after I change my share, not one last time, but after I change my share again in here, is I'm going to first do from chapter 4, I'm going to do one of the homework problems. And for chapter 5, I'm going to do one of the homework problems. All right, so chapter 4 has calculate area and perimeter. It has accumulate test score data. And that's it, those two. Chapter 5, calculate the factorial of a number. This is probably the hardest program. I'm going to let you try it. Now, if you try it and actually give it a try but can't get it to work, it's okay. All right, there's also a couple more on here. Calculate change and calculate income tax. This is probably the second hardest problem on here. So that's it. So what I'm going to do is from chapter 4, I'm going to first do this problem. Extra 4(1), calculate area and perimeter. To do this, I want to do two things. And one thing you will not be able to see, because I always do a print screen here, and I open it up in Paint, drop that in, just so I've got a picture, if I want to go back to it, of exactly what this should look like, what this project should look like when I get it all done. There, so I've got that. These, again, that you see here, these are my requirements. So I'm going to highlight all of the requirements that are in here, every single thing that's here. All right, so it's all highlighted now. I'm going to do a Control-C to copy it to the clipboard. All right, and now I'm going to start up Visual Studio. Now I'm going to change to Visual Studio in just a moment. Trying to make sure that I've got the somewhere online here that I have my associated folder. So just let me find it. It's in my mess. This way. It's on my desktop, and I have a folder, and I'm going to literally put it right into my homework folder in just a moment. All right, so let me come in here and change my share yet once again, and change it over so that I'm into Visual Studio. All right, technically they don't think I've started it up yet. So let me start it up. All right, so I'm going to create a new project. All right, the first one, it will be a Windows Forms application, C#. All right, and I think they said I'm going to just call it Lab 4-1. All right, and again, I'm going to save it into my AWD Fall 2022 Your Name folder under Labs. All right, so that's my folder. And the solution name is just going to be Labs, because they will be labs. Right now, is this lab or is this homework? I guess this is homework, so let me try that again. I'll move it into my homework folder. There we go. And I'll just call the name of the solution homework. You'll see all of this in just a moment. All right. So I know some people tell me that occasionally when I move around in here in Visual Studio, that sometimes the share goes away. If that happens, please just let me know right away and I'll do what I can to get it back again. All right. So hopefully right now you can see my Visual Studio up here, and I've got a blank form. So I'm going to start doing some stuff right now. I believe, hopefully what's still on my clipboard here are my requirements. Because I pasted them in there. So let me see if they're still there. No, they're not. Of course not. So I'll get them back. All right. So there's my requirements. All right. And I'm going to pretty it up a little bit. In this exercise, you'll create a form that accepts the length and width of a rectangle from the user and calculates the area and the perimeter of said rectangle. Okay, fine. Number one, start a new project. Well, they say name it area and perimeter. I called it homework 401. Actually, it's called lab 401, but I'll change the name in a moment. All right, number two says to add the labels, the text boxes, etc. So in other words, create our interface. Okay, so we will do that next. So it appears as shown above. All right. They also say when the user presses the enter key, the click event of the calculate button should fire. When the user presses the escape key, the exit button should fire. Well, it's not going to. I'm going to make it the clear button. I think that that's wrong to make the exit button fire. So number three, create an event handler for the click event, the calculate button. It should get the values that the user enters for the length and width, calculate and display the area, which is defined as width times length. Let's put an asterisk in there. All right. And the perimeter, which is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Okay. And I'm going to actually do it like this. So 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And move the focus to the length text box. It should provide for decimal entries, but you can assume that the user will enter valid decimal values. So in other words, we don't have to check for it being empty. We don't have to check for it being numeric. All right, create an event handler for the click event of the exit button. It closes the form. Well, I'm going to use the same one we have been using. All right. Test the application to make sure it works correctly. All right, so those are our requirements. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, as I always do, after I do a file save all, is I'm going to jump back into the form and I'm going to change the background color and the name of the form. All right. So I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call it FRM area and I think it was perimeter. I don't know what it was. Let's look. Yep, area and perimeter. Oops, I don't want to, no, I don't want to change that. So let me do it. Well, that was good. Okay, now I might have just, pardon my French, but screwed myself. So FRM, let's try it again. Area and perimeter. And it changed that. Hopefully it changed the internal files. If it didn't, I could be in trouble, but we'll see. All right, so I've got that. As I always do here, I'm going to change the text. So it's going to say lab 4-1, calculate area and perimeter. If you look up here, it now says that, and I will change the background color of my form, and we'll make it whatever that color is. So you're not going to be able to see this probably, but I'm going to keep this up here, but I'd also like to keep up a small picture on the screen here of what the app is supposed to look like. All right, so I want to keep that here, but I want to bring up this and then squish it down a little bit. All right. So what that should have on here, according to our requirements, are 1, 2, 3, 4 labels, 4 text boxes, and 2 buttons, but I'm going to put 3 in there because I'm going to put in a clear button. Length, width, area, and perimeter. All right, so doing this in turn. I'll start by putting in my labels. And I'm going to come in here, as I always do, and double click on auto size so I can change this. There will be 4 of these. All right. 2, 3, 4. Okay, it looks pretty well spaced out. I'll put in my 3 buttons next. And finally, I will put in my 4 text boxes. All right. Next, then, I will change the size of everything. So I'm going to do a Control A to highlight everything. Go over to my font, change my font size to 20, my font style to bold, and my font to Arial. All right, now I pretty well have my interface built as far as I can tell. So I'm going to do a Control A and whoops, not that. Oh, that was great. Try it again. I just hosed that up, so I'll fix it. I forgot it was still highlighted, so that was on me. All right. I'm going to right mouse click on here and choose lock control. So now my interface is locked into place. Now let's build this thing. So I think the first one was length, width, area, and perimeter. Okay, so this is length. So this is going to become LBL length. And it will have in there for text length. All right, the next one will be width. So it will become LBL width. And it will have the text width. The next one will be area. And it will be called LBL area. And finally, the last one will be called, perimeter. So it will be LBL perimeter. And in here, I will also put in perimeter. All right. Well, I don't know what happened there. Text perimeter. There we go. All right, so that's all done. Let's go and change these the same way. So this text box will be txt length. The next text box will be txt width. The next text box will be txt area. And the last text box will be txt perimeter. Okay, I kind of like my stuff being centered, so I'm going to highlight all of this stuff. In fact, I'm not going to do it like that. I'm going to highlight all of my labels. I'm going to go down to where it says text align, and I'm going to change it to so that it's centered. Then I'm going to do the same thing here with my text boxes. Again, going to text align and choosing center. Now what's left are to do my 3 buttons here. So the first button, you've seen this before, is going to be my BTN calculate. It will say calculate. Second one will be BTN clear, and it will say clear. And the last one will be BTN exit, and it will say exit. All right. So I think my interface is built. I'm going to double check. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit the down arrow and check. It did not change in here, but that should still be okay. All right, so I've got form 1. Everything else looks like it's working and it looks fine. Okay, so that's all done. As always, then I'm going to click on a blank spot on the form. I'm going to go to my accept button and I'm going to set that to BTN calculate. I'm going to go to my cancel button and I'm going to set that to BTN clear. I'm going to go down to my Windows or my start position, change it from Windows default location to center screen. And finally, I'm going to set my tab order. These two fields are both read only. So I'm going to set those right away. And my tab order will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 0 to 10, really. So right there, view tab order, and it will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, looks like that's correct to me. So view tab order. All right. Couple more things and then we'll run it for first time. I need to put in my calculate code in just a moment, my clear in just a moment, and my exit in just a moment. Now for the clear, it'll be clear this, clear this, clear this, clear this, set the focus back here. So again, you've seen this before and I put these kind of comments in here before. This code executes when the clear button is clicked. All right, so we're going to say txt area dot text. I guess I better rename that. I don't like that with a big R. So let me fix that. So let's try that again. And this will be txt length dot text equals double quote txt width dot text equals double quote txt area dot text equals double quote and txt perimeter dot text equals double quote and finally txt length dot focus. That should be finished now with a semicolon. All right, so let's do a file save all, run that, save it, and make sure that works. Okay, so I just put some junk in here and some junk in here and click clear. They both cleared. Try it one more time. Click down here and try my escape key, and that works too. All right, so let's put in the code for the exit button. I always forget to bring that up at the beginning of class. I wish I wouldn't, but I do. So let me bring that up. So there's that code. All right, so again, a file save all. Let's run and just make sure that that works. All right, so exit, say no, exit, say yes. All right, so again, I am done except for the calculate button. So let's do that right now. All right, we were told we've got two formulas in here. Area is length times width and perimeter is this. I'm just going to grab these and temporarily I'm going to put them in there as comments, just so I don't have to be whipping back to a different part of the program. So that's area. And that is perimeter. All right. And I'll remove those comments in just a moment. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create 4 variables, and I'll make them all decimals. So decimal height, length. And I'm going to set that equal to convert dot to decimal txt length dot text. Then I'm going to do decimal width, set that equal to convert to 2 decimal to txt. So that one is now done. And then it's just simply doing these. So decimal area equals length times width, and decimal perimeter equals exactly, I'm just going to grab this. Right? Now I don't need these comments anymore, so I'll get rid of them. All right. And again, because I'm a little squirrely about this, I'm going to line my stuff up. So that should be everything. So all I have to do then is txt area dot text equals area dot toString, and then let's make that 2 decimal places. And then finally txt perimeter dot text, and that'll be perimeter dot toString. And again, we'll make that to 2 decimal places. All right, I think, I could be wrong, but I think we're finished. All right, so let's check and see what it looks like. Now, in the example they give, they put 25 and 100 in to the first 2 text boxes, and they get 2,500 and 150. So I'm going to run with that. Sorry. Oh, crud. Well, hopefully you didn't lose my share. Let me go double check. I'm going to bring it back again because, of course, I clicked the wrong button. All right. So let me run this. So I'm going to do a file, save all. Always a good idea, just in case you'd ever have some weird thing happen where it would lock up your machine. So 25 and 100. So this should be 2,500. This should be 250. And it looks like it works. All right. Let's try it again, and let's try here 100. And then here, let's try 25. Calculate, we get the same thing. How about 100 and 100? All right. 100 times 100 is 10,000. 2 times 100 is 200, plus 2 times 100 is 200. So 200 plus 200 is 400. It appears as though it works just fine. All right. Do I really want to exit? Yes. So there wasn't much code in here. Okay. The exit button was the same stuff we've been doing almost forever. All right. And the clear button was to clear out the 4 text boxes that we had and set the focus back to the first text box. And then there were 2 calculations. And we were given what those calculations are supposed to be. Now, I realize there's only 2 of you watching here, but either one of you have any questions on anything that I've done? All right, then hopefully that made sense. And I did put, leave the code up here so you can see the calculate, you can see the clear. The exit is what I've already given you. And I added the prologue at the beginning. All right. So I'm going to do a file, and I'm going to do a save all. All right. And that'll be the first one. So I'm going to create another project in here. We hopefully can finish this, and then we'll take our break. So I'm going to do the one I'm going to create in here next. I'm going to grab the one for the change, calculate change. That's extra 5-2. So I'm going to grab all of the comments. Okay, and let's bring that up. So I'm going to right mouse click on my solution, add new project. It will again be a Windows Forms app. All right, and the last one was called Lab 401. This will be called Lab 502. Okay, it's already set as far as its position. So let me create. I'm going to just grab this so I don't lose it. I'm going to come in here and I grabbed all of that text that was on the PDF. So that's that. We'll do that in just a moment, okay? As I do, and you don't have to do this, of course, but I am going to go back there and I'm going to make a picture of this and save it. All right, I'm going to save it onto Microsoft Paint. And then I'm going to all right, so I've got that now. Okay, so jumping back into the program then, as it says, calculate change. In this exercise, you're going to develop a form that tells you how many quarters, how many nickels, how many pennies you need to make change for any amount of change from 0 through 99 cents. Okay. One way to get the results is to use a combination of division and modulus. So they even tell you basically how to do it. All right. And as far as then what we have to do here, start a new project. I didn't name it change calculator. All right. I will, in just a second, add the labels, text boxes, etc. to the default form and set the form properties accordingly. Okay. Again, when user presses enter, do the calculate. When the user presses escape, the click event, no, not the exit button. Again, we will do clear. We will create an event handler, like we have been doing, and we will write the code for it to display the number of quarters, the number of dimes, the number of pennies that are needed to calculate the change accordingly. This code should provide for integer entities. But again, you can assume that the input will be valid. When we get into the next section, next week, we are going to start talking about in more depth and breadth of coverage, two things. The first thing will be, again, how to go and basically write your code so that it's more modularized. It's what I started showing you yesterday. And we will start looking at error conditions so we can fix those. All right. So I think we are just about finished here. Oops. We save that. And we'll go back and we'll start working on this right now. All right. So according to this, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 text boxes. All right, 5 text boxes, 5 labels, and we'll have our 3 buttons. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Let's right mouse click on here and I will rename it. And I'm just going to call it FRM change calculator. Yes, and there we will do the same thing. So I will change the text on here to change calculator. All right, so that's now been changed. I'm going to change the color of the form. We'll make it purple. All right, I need 5 labels. So I'm going to go over to my label, make the first one. This should be pretty much old hat to you by now. Change the auto size to false. Make that bigger. Let's change this color on that. I need 5 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5. In addition, I need my 3 buttons, and then I'll need my 5 text boxes. So for buttons, probably is a little wider than I need to make these, so make them a little more narrow. Whoops, not like that. Good. All right. That's done, and then let's make our 5 text boxes. First one. Way bigger than we needed, but second one, third one, fourth one, and the 5th one. Again, highlight everything, going over to my font, changing all the stuff that I always change. All right, I think, pretty much, I think the interface is in place right now. So let's lock it. That's, whoops, I'm sorry, I didn't do it right. Let's see, let me try it again. For some reason, I don't think this was set, but we'll fix it. All right, so let me try that again. With all of that set, make that 20, bold, and Arial, save it. There we go. All right. Now oh, that's why. That's why, because I do a Control A when I've got it already highlighted. Okay. Live and learn. Well, now you've got to watch me do that 3 times. So let's right mouse click on there and lock it. There. Now it's locked. All right. Okay. I'll start with the buttons here. As always, this will be BTN calculate. And it will say calculate. This will be BTN clear, and it will say clear. And the last one will be BTN exit. And it will say exit. I'm going to build my interface, and then we'll take a break. All right, I'll do these first, doesn't matter. I'm going to call this just TXT input change. This will be called quarters, TXT quarters. This will be TXT dimes. This will be TXT nickels. And the last one will be TXT pennies. All right, which will mean that this one will be called LBL pennies. And it will say pennies. Oops, with a colon on the end. The next one will be nickels. And it will be LBL nickels. The next one will be LBL dimes. And it will say dimes with a colon. Then we will have quarters with a colon and LBL quarters. And the last one, I call this input change. This will be LBL input change. And I will put this in here. It's always nice to give your user, put in something like this, so they have some kind of an idea. Well, I screwed that up, but we'll fix it. So input change, and it should be between 0 and 99. Well, that's actually in there, but this has got to be widened out a little bit. So let me widen this just a bit. There we go. Yeah, let's widen it there. I like that better. And I'm gonna see. That's fine. Let's relock up the interface. All right. Doesn't look great, but it looks okay. Let's quickly come in here and set our accept button to BTN calculate, our clear, or I'm sorry, our cancel button to BTN clear, our start position to center screen, and let's do our tab order. So it'll be actually all of these are read only. The only thing we're inputting is the change. So I'm going to make all of those right now read only. And they are. So my tab order will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, just like that. So view tab order, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks good. Another view tab order. And I'm going to grab all of this right here. Again, I can't do it like that. I think I didn't do it yet. So I'm going to come into here and I'm going to do my text align to the middle, kind of like that better. And I'm going to do my text align here to the center. All right. I should be able to run it now. It's not at all. Whoops. Got to change my startup project. It's not at all functional, and that none of the buttons work yet. All right, I've got 2 minutes, so let me quickly do both these. Then when we come back from the break, we'll write the major part of the code. So let me go over here to my perimeter thing, and let me grab what's in the what's there and in the exit button. So I did that, but I did. So I'll put that in there. All right. And I want, again, clear, 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 set focus. So in the clear, it'll be txt input change dot text equals double quote, txt quarters dot text equals double quote, txt dimes dot text equals double quote, txt nickels dot text equals double quote, txt pennies dot text equals double quote, and txt input change dot, oops, focus. That should be everything for that. So all right, let me just quickly save and run it, make sure. Save all and run it. And I'm going to put some garbage in there and just click down here someplace. And my clear should work. I'll do it again. And with the escape, okay, those both work. And the exit, no. And the exit, yes. So when we come back from our break in just a moment, I'm going to give you 15 minutes. But when we come back, we're going to do the code for the calculate. Then when we get done, we're going to move over to those homework or to the, what is this? This is lab. I don't know. That's great, because what I did here was the solution is homework, but I call them both lab. So let me go back and change that. Rename that to homework 4-01. And I'll rename that to homework 5-02. All right, let's take a break, please, and come back at 9:15. I'll see you then. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. So what is left to do on here is to come in and add for our calculate button. All right. Now, you don't have to do what I'm about to do, but I am going to make make some constants. Okay. And let's see. We want to input that. Then we want to divide by 25, then modulo by 25, divide by 25 and modulo, or divide by 10 and modulo by 10, divide by 5 and modulo by 5, and then that'll be whatever's left. All right, that's the whole program. So let's see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable in here that's going to represent the change. So I'll call it decimal change input. And I'm going to set that equal to convert dot to decimal, whatever was in that text box, txt input change dot text. Okay, so that's the first one. All right, then I will need number of quarters, number of dimes, number of nickels, number of pennies. Okay, those can all be ints. So num quarters, and that'll be equal to 0 to start with. Num dimes, that'll also be equal to 0 to start with. Num nickels, that'll be equal to 0 to start with, and num pennies, which again will be equal to 0 when we start. All right, and again, you know this already, or at least you should, but all these are green because we have declared all those variables and we are not yet using any of them. So we're going to do that right now. So I'm also going to have a variable in here that's just going to be called what's left. Maybe that's a stupid name, but you'll see what it is if you don't understand that in just a moment. Okay. All right. So my number of quarters is going to be equal to the change input divided by 25. Okay. And I made that a decimal. So let's see, change input. So divided by 25, is it M? What does it like? Oh, I'm putting it into an integer. That's the problem. All right, let's make this an int as well. It is going to be a number, you know, that's between 0 and 99. Int 32. Okay, so convert dot 32. With 32. All right, so now that's equal to, there we go. All right, so what's left is going to be the change input modulo 25. So that'll give me my number of dimes, quarters, I should say. Calculate number of quarters. All right. Now, from now on, I'm going to be working with what's left. So num dimes is going to be equal to what's left divided by 10. And what's left is going to be equal to what's left modulo 10. Now, there is a shortcut, of course, we can use here. We could just say modulo 10. I'm going to leave it the way it is because I want it to read as well as I think it can read. All right. So this will calculate the number of dimes. All right? I'm just going to copy this down right here. And that'll be my number of nickels. And that'll be a 5, and that'll be a 5. Pretty this up a little bit. This will be my number of pennies. And actually, the number of pennies, I don't have to do any division because it's just 1. All right. So number of pennies is going to be equal to what's left. All right. That's everything, except I have to now fill up the things in my text box. We'll go over it in a minute. So txt quarters.text equals num quarters dot toString. None of these will have to be formatted at all. Txt dimes dot text equals num dimes dot toString. Txt nickels dot text equals num nickels to string, and txt pennies dot text is equal to num pennies dot pennies dot toString. Now that should be everything. Could I be missing something? Of course I could. All right, but we're going to look at it in just a moment. But taking it from the top, I don't think we really have to say anything more about the clear button and the exit button. All right, we kind of talk those to death, to be honest with you. So the real code that we have is what's in here. We started by, all right, setting up our change input. All right. And we've got num dimes. This is unnecessary assignment. What they're telling me here is really, with all these that are set up like this, is really, that should be nickels. You'll notice that all of these are in gray. Kind of an important point here. The reason they're in gray is these are automatically initialized to 0 by default. So I could remove all those. You'll notice when I remove the equals 0, they're now all being blackened. Okay, so these are our inputs. Then we calculate the number of quarters. We calculate the number of dimes. We calculate the number of nickels. We calculate the number of pennies. And then we fill up the associated text boxes. Now, when you do this and you start to look at it, let's take a couple simple examples. I'm going to put in here 75, and that should give me 3/4, and these should all be 0. And that worked. Let's try it again, and let's put in, I don't know, we'll put in 20 for 20 cents. That should be 2 dimes, and that worked. All right, then let's try for nickels. Let's just try 5 cents and see if it gives us a nickel. It does. And let's try 4 and see if it gives us 4 pennies. And it does. So it appears to be working, but I'm going to put a couple more values in. I'll put in 79 cents. And that is 3/4 and 4 pennies. That looks good. How about 87 cents? That's 3/4, which is 75. All right, a dime, which is 85, and 2 pennies. Let's see if we can add a nickel in here. So let's make that 92. And then we should have 3112, if I count it right. There. So it now appears to be working. Now, I do want to mention one thing to you, and that is there are different ways that we could do this program. All right. This is totally fine the way it is. But I've had people in the past say, well, really, shouldn't we have some constants in here that says like quarter value is 25, dime value is 10, and then we could have used those here. And yeah, we can do that. That would be totally fine to do. Technically, though, I don't think it's necessary because I've been around here for over 60 years and they've never changed the value of a quarter, of a dime, of a nickel, or of a penny. So I don't really think that that's necessary. Again, you may agree with me, you may disagree with me. But one last time. So again, we will declare variables. The only one we're initializing is this change input. The other ones get initialized to 0 by C#. Then we calculate the number of quarters, we calculate the number of dimes, we calculate the number of nickels, we calculate the number of pennies. Then we take those respective values and we assign them to their text boxes. So with that said, anybody watching right now have any questions on anything that I did in here? All right, then not hearing anything. All right, now I have done a problem from chapter 4 and I have done a problem from chapter 5. So I'm going to close that. All right, I'm going to do a file save all in here. All right, and I think I'll close at least the original one, the one with the area on the perimeter, and let's see what we've got left. All right, so let me change my share here. And I'm going to jump into Word that has the chapter 4 labs in it. Okay, that's this one here. All right, write a GUI program that does between miles and kilometers. We already did that one. Write this with a chicken farmer. We could do that one. And you're going to do this one on your own. So I think I do like this one. All right. So let me do, as I always do, a couple things here. Let me do a print screen. Bring this up. Again, this is called Chicken Farmer. Okay. Let me grab these specs here. I don't care if you consider this one to be the homework and the other one the labs, or this one the labs and the other one the homework. I don't care. All right. But I guess that these have now become my lab. So this will be lab. It's for chapter 4, so it'll become lab 4.3 in just a moment. Okay. All right. So let me come in here to my solution, file, add, new project. Looks like somehow better reset my share. As soon as I can find it. Oh, okay. So I'm going to come in here and add a new project right now. And this one, I'm going to put in my labs folder. Okay. So this will be in labs. And the name of this project will be lab 04-03. And that should be fine. Let's see. Put it in your name labs. Okay. Create. I don't know why, but it put it in my homework because I screwed up, but that's fine. I'll move it later. Doesn't really matter. All right. So this is called Chicken Farmer. I don't know why, but it is. So I'm going to right mouse click and rename it FRM Chicken Farmer.
We can't see your screen right now. I don't know if you know that.
Okay, no, thank you. But I'm gonna fix this. So give me a second here. I'll tell you what, let me do this. Let me Not going to save this. All right. Save everything. I'm getting out of here. I'm restarting this, okay? I'm restarting Visual Studio, so bear with me for just a second. I'll be able to bring it back in about 15 seconds. Okay. All right, so let me bring my share back. I appreciate hearing that. Now, can you see Visual Studio now?
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm gonna come in here, click on this, right mouse click, rename, and this will be FRM Chicken Farmer. Yes, I want to save that. I will change the text on here to Chicken Farmer. All right, I will change the color of my form. Make it turquoise here. And looking at the specs, I have two labels, 4 text boxes, and a calculate button. Okay, so let me write that up real quick. So I'm going to have 2 labels. So here will be 1 label. They're actually bigger labels. So let me go in, change the size, change the color, and then we'll do the auto size. I'm going to make this fairly big. Copy it, and it'll be fairly big down here as well. All right. Then we will have 4 text boxes. Pretty good, and 1 button. In fact, as we've been doing, we'll have a calculate button, we'll have a clear and an exit. So I'll put all 3 buttons in. A little more than they have in the book, but I don't think it hurts one way or the other. All right, so that's my interface. Again, Control A to highlight. I'm going to make all of them, as I've been doing, 20, bold, Arial. All right, should be it for fixing up my interface. I think that's all correct. So let me highlight everything, lock it into place. All right. So again, this will be this label right here says enter number of eggs laid by each chicken. So I'll just call this LBL input. And it's going to say again, enter number of eggs laid by each chicken. Okay. And at the bottom here, this is going to be I guess it's the answer. Yep. So I'll just call that. So since I made this LBL input, I'll call this one LBL output. And there'll be nothing in there, because that's what I'm going to fill up at the end. So that's done. Let's take this and let's center it. And let's do the same with this. Okay. And this will be, I think this is chicken 1, 2, 3, and 4, but I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, so we'll call these TXT chicken 1, TXT chicken 2, TXT chicken 3, and TXT chicken 4. So TXT chicken 1, TXT chicken 2, TXT chicken 3, and TXT chicken 4. All right. And finally, these will be, as we've always been doing, BTN calculate. BTN clear. And BTN exit. All right, I think my interface is fine. It's in place. Let me double check. Okay, everything has been renamed, so that's good. So again, as always, let's the calculate and the clear. So I want to clear, 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 and clear, and I can put the focus back there. And for exit, it'll be just my normal exit. All right, so since I am putting this in labs, let me grab the exit code again from here as I've done before. So that's done. I'm gonna move that over. All right, so that's done. For the clear, again, it's pretty simple. That'll be just txt chicken1 dot text equals double quote. Just this will be dot focus here. And this is chicken1, chicken2, chicken3, and 1, 2, 3, chicken4. All right. I've got to do what I always do in here, but before I do, I'm just going to run it once and see if all that code works. I got to still move it, etc. So let me just put something in there and in there and in there and in there. When I click clear, it's clearing, and there's my cursor. And my exit works. Good. All right, so let's do the other stuff we always do. So click here, go over to the accept button. Set that to BTN calculate, go down here to the cancel button, set that to BTN clear, go to the start position, set that to center screen. All right. And finally, we'll set our tab order, which will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Looks okay. Again, I'm going to do a file, save all. All right. So I need what variables? Well, first we'll do an int for chicken1. All right, and that's going to be equal to txt chicken1 dot text. But of course, we have to convert it or we'll get an error. So convert dot to int 32. That'll be that one. I'm going to copy this 4 times. So this will be chicken2, chicken3, and chicken4. All right. And of course, this then will have to be, well, not 21. All right, so this again will have to be, yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt. I was trying to find Pat or anybody. There's nobody in these two offices over here.
All right, let me see. real quick.
I've
I'll be
been
right back. No, it's not wrong. All right, sorry about that. I'm on campus today and a student came in trying to buy a shirt and I couldn't help him. So we've got chicken 1, chicken 2, chicken 3, and chicken 4. All right, we'll make another integer variable. We'll call it total eggs. All right, and we'll set that equal to chicken 1 plus chicken 2 plus chicken 3 plus chicken 4. All right. And we'll have another variable that we'll call total dozens. And that'll be equal to total eggs divided by 12. And I'll have one more variable that I'll just call eggs left. And that will be equal to total dozens modulo 12. I think that's everything, and I think that's correct. We're going to check in just a second to be sure, but I believe that that's just about finished. All right. So the other thing we have to do is we have to fill up the output. So txt output dot text. Now what I called it was txt output. Find out. txt, oh, it's LBL output, not txt. That's okay. I'll fix that. And it's supposed to say something like how many eggs total or how many dozen and how many are left. Okay. So this is LBL output dot text. All right. And that is supposed to say total eggs dot toString plus total. Okay. What else did it say? Comma, or how many dozen and how many are left. Or, all right, and I'm just going to add this to the next line. So, total dozens dot toString plus, they say dozens, dozen and eggs. Total, or that's eggs left. Dot toString plus eggs. Okay, that should be everything. Now let's go back and look at it again. The clear again should just make sense. All right, the exit again should just make sense. So let's look at this because we've got all of it on one screen. Okay, these are going to be getting our inputs from the 4 different text boxes. We're going to add those up. So again, let's just assume I'm going to use the numbers that they used in their example, which were 40, 23, 36, and 31. All right, and that's 63, that's 130. Oh, 120, I think they counted wrong here. So they've got 127. Just so we have theirs, let's take and make the first chicken lay 37 eggs. That'll be 60. Yeah, that'll be equal 127 then. All right, so we're going to put that in just a 37 there, 23, 36, and 31 in the 4, and that should give us, if we did it right, that should give us the same thing as they showed in the text as far as the output. So run this. There were errors. I probably forgot it, the semicolon on the end. That was probably it. So let's try it again. All right, so in here 37, in here 23, so that's 60. In here 36, so that's 96. And in here 31, so that's 127. 127 total, or 10 dozen and 10 eggs. That's wrong, so we'll have to fix that. All right, but we'll get that fixed in a moment. So this isn't total dozens, but modulo 12, this is total eggs. That's probably what the error was. And let's change one last thing, and that is let's center those. I thought I did, but I must not have. All right, so that's now done. File, save all. And I don't know about the rest of you, but when I run these, I like to actually go back into my code window because then I just see the actual run. So there we go. So 37, 23, 36, and 31. Calculate 127 total, or 10 dozen, which would be 120 times plus 7, which is 127. 37 and 23 is 60, and 36 is 96, and 31 is 127. All right, so that works. Let's just put in here just some random numbers. Okay, clear worked. The calculate works. The exit works. Okay. Now what I should be doing too, I missed something here. You may or may not have noticed, but when I clear, I also want to clear that output thing. So I'm going to say LBL output dot text is also equal to double quote, double quote. It just looks a little more professional that way. So run that one more time. Now when I click clear, this should clear as well. And it does. So the code for that, again, there's the clear code because I just added the LBL output.text. All right. Again, the exit has been what we've always used, and this is the code then for the calculate. All right. So that's one of the lab problems for chapter 4. Any questions from any of you watching this live? All right, then let me change my share. And this is the chapter 5 ones. All right. I'm going to let you play with the rock, paper, scissors. It's actually kind of a fun game. All right. And basically you're told in here how to create the random numbers, etc. It's challenging, but I think you can all do it. I really, truly do. All right. So there's hurricanes and there's GPA. We'll do the hurricane one. Okay. So I'm going to copy that. And then let me take a picture here. Okay. Okay, so there's my picture. And I'm going to start a new thing, and that is number 3. So we'll call that lab 5.3. It says my sharing is paused, so give me a second. We'll get it all set in just a second. Back to Visual Studio here, and I'm going to create a new project. So let me right mouse click and oops, I don't need that. Right mouse click, add new project. It'll again be a console app, and I'm going to call it lab. The other one was lab 403. I'll call this lab 5-03. All right, you should hopefully be able to see that up on the screen right now. I'm going to right mouse click in here, view my code, and I'm going to quickly put in that comment. I might have even left the comment out of the last one. Shame on me. And of course it didn't save it. Okie dokie. Try that again. There we go. And of course I put the wrong comment in. Isn't that fantastic? This is the one from chapter 4, so I close that. Save. This is the one I want. Copy. All right, so again. Don't need that. All right, so write a GUI program that estimates the category of hurricanes based on the wind speed, based on some scale that somebody else made. All right. So category 5 hurricanes have a wind speed of at least 157 miles an hour. Category 4 have ones of at least 130 miles an hour. Category 3 have them of at least 111 miles an hour. Category 2 are at least 96 miles an hour. Category 1 are at least 74 miles an hour. And anything that's less than that is not classified as a hurricane. Okay. All right, that should be everything. Before I even go in and do my GUI, which I'll do in just a second, I am going to come in here and I don't have to do it this way, but I'm going to add some constants. In fact, I'm going to add 6 constants. So I will declare and initialize my program constants. I'm going to go till 10 o'clock and then we'll take another break. So I'm going to call this const int category. I'm going to call it 0 and I'm going to set it equal to 73. All right. And then I'm going to have, like I said, so, oops, come on. That's right. We'll fix all these right now. Category 1, category 2, category 3, category 4, and category 5. And they were category 157, 130. This was 111, I believe. 96 and 74. And that last one is 73. All right, I've just got those done. I'm going to try and see if in about 5 minutes if I can build the interface. Let me see what it looked like. Oh, it's simple. It's got 2 text boxes that each have a label on top of them and a button in between. So let me build that, and we're taking our break. That should be plenty big. Change my name, project name to, or form name to FRM. FRM Hurricane should be fine. Yes, we will change the text that's in here on our form. We'll just call it Hurricane Measurer. It's a crummy name, but that's fine. Measurer. All right, so we got that up there. I think I spelled it right, and now I know probably didn't. Measure, I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. And change our color of our back color of our form. And it's time for a green one. All right, so I'm going to put in 2 labels. As always, change the color. Change my auto size. All right, there'll be one here and one here. Okay, I will have 2 text boxes. One will be here. One will be here. Between those 2 text boxes, I will have a button. Put it like there. All right. That should be everything I need for my interface. As always, I'm going to change the sizes. I might have to make that a little bigger, but we'll see. Not terrible, not great, but it'll work. Lock that interface into place. And according to this, these say, whoop, wrong one. Wind speed category, and the button says estimate. So this is wind speed. It's LBL wind speed. This will say wind speed. This will say category. And it will be LBL category. Grab both those, center them. All right, the button I think said estimate. Yes, it does. So this will say estimate, and it will be BTN estimate. In fact, let's do what we always do here, okay? So I will keep it at estimate, but let me, and we're taking a break, but let me unlock these. Let me make this bigger. Bring this down. And as we always have, we'll have our calculate, our clear, and we will have our exit. All right, so that'll be my interface. All right, I'll come back and do that after the break. It is 10 o'clock. Let's come back, please, at 10:10. I'll see you then. All right, I'm back. Let me, whoops, not there. Double check and make sure that the share is still set correctly. All right, so we've got all this done. I can lock my controls and I got to make my buttons. So my BTN calculate with calculate. My BTN clear with clear. And my BTN exit with exit. All right. This category 1. All right, the category text box is a read only. Okay, so I will set the read only property on there to true. There we go. And I don't remember if I did the other stuff, so let's quickly check. I don't think I did because I just made the buttons. So the accept button will be to calculate. The cancel button will be to clear. The start position will be center screen. All right, and the tab order will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks correct. All right, put that in a minute. This will be simple. It's like 3 lines. And this I'm going to grab from what we did before. So I'm just again going to grab the exit button code from the previous program. That's done. For the clear, it's clear, clear, focus. So that's it. So TXT, maybe I didn't rename these yet, so let me do that. So that's renamed, that should be TXT wind speed. And that already was LBL wind speed. This is LBL category, so this will be TXT category. Category. There we go. Let's double check on here. And yeah, it looks like everything's been renamed. Good. All right, so to clear, TXT windspeed.text equals double quote, TXT category.text equals double quote, and TXT windspeed.focus. All right, so we can check these two out real quick. Oh, change my start project to 5.3. All right, I can put something in here. I made it right justified. I meant to make it center. Click over here, clear works. And exit works. Okay, good. Let's quickly just fix that. And I'm going to make that, instead of making it right justified, I want that to be center justified. There we go. It'll fix that. And let's do the calculate. This is a lot like the program that we did for the grades. So try that again. Int wind speed equals convert dot to int 32 txt windspeed.text. All right. If wind speed is greater than or equal to category 5. Okay. That's all we'll need for that. I want to make one more variable first, an int variable that I just call category, and I'm going to set it equal to 0. All right, you'll know what that is if you haven't already figured it out, but here, so then here category equal 5. Okay, so that's first one. Else if wind speed is greater than or equal to category 4, category equal 4, else if the wind speed is greater than or equal to a category 3, category is 3. Let me just go and copy these. Otherwise, if it's greater than or equal to a 2, it's a 2. Otherwise, if it's greater than or equal to a 1, it's a 1. Otherwise, I don't really need this category 0 in here, but I'm going to make a constant that I'm going to make as type string. And I'm just going to call it MS, we'll call it message. All right, I'm going to set that equal to, this is not a hurricane. All right. In fact, we're putting it in a very small area right there. That's not going to fit in there. So let's just say not a hurricane. That's probably still not going to fit, but that's okay. All right. And I think I'm done, except, so let's put in here, category. I won't even say that. I'm going to say category equal. I don't know if it'll take null or not. It doesn't like null. So we'll put a 0 in there. That's fine. All right. So categories 1, categories 2, categories 3, categories 4, category 0. So if category is equal to 0, the problem is, let's see, that is txt category, right? Okay. So if it's equal to 0, there's a lot of ways this could have been done. Then I'm going to set txt category.text equals message. And since that was a constant, that should be in capital letters. Shame on me. I'll just make it, I want to make it MSG. I like that better. All right. So it is equal to MSG. Else txt category dot text equals category dot toString. And that should be it. Let's run it and then we'll go back and take a look at it. 200, that should be a category 5, and it is clear. What was the next one? All right, 128, that should be a category 4. Oops. Oh, should be a category 3. 138, that should be a category 4. All right, 128 should be a category 3. 118 should be a category 2. No. 108 should be a category 2. All right. 95 should be a category 1. And 2 should be not a hurricane. Okay, it looks like we're finished, but let's just take a quick look. So the clear was really simple because we only had the 2 text boxes to clear and then set the focus. Our button, our exit button is our exit button. And this I made probably more long-winded than it had to be, but I came in here and first created constants for those wind speeds and another one just for the message. And then the wind speed was the integer equivalent of whatever we put in there. The category was set to 0. All right. And if the wind speed was greater than or equal to 157, it's category 5. Else, if the wind speed was greater than or equal to 130, the category was 4. Else, if the wind speed was greater than or equal to 111, it was a 3. Else, if it was greater than or equal to a 96, it was a 2. Else, if it was greater than or equal to a 74, it was a 1. Otherwise, and technically I didn't even have to do this, category equals 0 because I had set it up here. Doesn't hurt anything. That's fine. I could leave this out and it would still work. If it is 0, I just set that TXT category to that message, which was the constants we put in that said not a hurricane. All right. Otherwise, I set it equal to the category we had just figured out, .toString. If I wanted to leave it as 0, I could have just removed this. And then it would have, this whole thing and this and that curly brace. And if I wanted to leave that as just a 0, we could have done that too. All right. Any questions on this particular example? Anything? So again, there's a level 5, then a level 4, then a level 3, then a level 2, then a level 1. Now we could have again come in here and done something like this. We could have said if wind speed is greater than or equal to this, and the wind speed is less than or equal to a category 5. We could have done it like that. To me, that's overkill. We already know that it has to be less than or equal to a category 5. We know that based on if it was greater than or equal to a category 5, it would have caught it here. But again, some people, I don't know exactly why they do it that way, but they like to do it that way. Either way is totally fine. All right, so if there's no questions, let's do a save all. And I'm going to look, let me do it, change my share, and we'll look at the last one that's in here. Where is that? It is, I think it's 5.2 new. Nope, that's one we just did, so I can close that. And which means I got to redo my share. And where is it? There it is. All right. So what do we have here? Prompt the user for test scores. Do the number, do the sum, do the average, do the highest, do the lowest. That's a console one. And we've got doing it as a GUI. Then the thing for home sales. And we do that as a GUI. And there's a multiplication table. That's actually probably the hardest one. I'm going to let you work on that one. All right. And let's see. Let's do the one with the grades here, but we'll do it as a console. So that's lab 4. And again, I will got my little picture of it. So copy. And I'm going to make one more project here. So I'm going to right mouse click, add New project, let me change my share because it already is telling me that it's not showing. That's interesting. It's not in my list of shares here. It's not showing me Visual Studio. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to close Visual Studio. Oh, I know why. It's because I'm in the middle of creating the project. So let me do that. We're going to make that a console app, and I'm going to just call this lab. I think it was 5.4. I'm going to call it lab 5-4 console. All right, and that should be up right now. And I'm going to double check. So let me make sure. There it is. Okay. All right, so we're going to fix that in a second. Now, I think I told you this in an earlier class, but I want to make sure you know it. If this using system is commented out, if we were to comment that out, then in here, if we want to do a write line, we've got to say system.console.write line. We've got to do all that. Now we can say, hello. All right. If we go in and we put in the using system, now we don't need to say system. Now we can just say console.writeLine. But if we only want to say write line, we can come in here and type in using static system.console. And if I put that in, now all I need to say in here is write line or read line. So I'm going to put that one in there. Okay. So let's put in our comments here. So write a console application that accepts an indefinite number of test scores for a student and then compute some statistics about these scores. So let's look at the statistics. So prompt the user for test scores until they enter 999. If the user enters a score outside of the range of 0, if they do enter a number within the range of 0 through 100, accept the score and prompt for another score. All right. If the user enters 999, ignore the score. Do not display an error message. Display the number of scores, not including that one, the sum, the average, the min, and the max. And finally, stop the program. All right. If they enter a score outside of the range of 0 through 100, ignore the score, display an error message, and prompt for them to enter another score. All right. Okay, so let's think about first. Well, it comes to my mind that we'll have 3 constants. So I'm going to have in here, I'm going to declare and initialize program constants, and I'm going to have a const int of min score, and I'm going to set that equal to 0. I'm going to have a const int of max score, and I'm going to set that equal to 100. And I'm going to have a const int, and I'm going to call it stop PGM, stop the program. And that'll be equal to 999. All right. So what have I handled here and what have I not handled? The range is 0 through 100. I've got that. The 999, I've got that. And what they showed in here on theirs for an error message is they said, let's see, just invalid score. Okay, that's whatever. So I'm going to have a string in here. And I'm just going to call it INV for invalid. And that is invalid score. All right, so that should be everything as far as my constants. Now I don't need that right line of hello in there anymore. All right. But what I want to do is I want to ask the user to enter another score. I'm trying to find it because I actually printed it off on a piece of paper here. Make it a little easier. And of course I can't find it. There it is. All right. So I want to keep doing this. So I'm going to have something, and I'm going to say in here, let's see. I'm going to make an int that I'm going to call test score, and I'm going to set it equal to 0 when we start. And I'm going to say while, good, we get to use a loop, while test score is not equal to stop program. So while it's not equal to that, we want to ask him to read in a test score. So console.write, remember, don't be using the write lines unless you're literally writing out something you've figured out already. Otherwise, make it a write. Please enter a test score. All right. Then that test score, try that again. Don't want that. So test score equals, all right, it equals convert dot to int 32 read line. Okay. All righty. If, I think this will work, but we're going to test it and find out. So if test score equal stop program, just going to say break. I think that'll get us out of here. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. So that'll handle once they put in 999. Okay. If test score is less than the min score, or it's greater than the max score, that means they've entered something out of range. So we want to do a write line of our error message, which is INV. Okay. And otherwise, so let's see. If that break, I shouldn't need an else if in there, but we can put it in there as an else if. It's not going to hurt anything. Else if it's there. Else, well, that means they put in a valid score. All right. So what do we need here? Well, we need the sum of our scores. So I need an int, oops, an int that we'll call sum scores. We'll set that equal to 0. And once we put in a valid one, we want to say sum scores plus equals the score we just entered, which was test score. That's the first thing. So we've handled that. we'll need to do our average, but we don't know yet what that's going to be. So I'm going to make that a double. We'll call it AVG score. We'll set that equal to 0.0. That's going to be our average. I really don't even have to initialize that, but I am going to anyway. We need to know the number of scores we have. So we've got some scores, and we'll make another int called num scores. All right, because we just put in it, that's a score. So we want to, in here, if it's valid, we want to plus num scores. All right, so we've got that done. And then we need the highest and we need the lowest. All right, you've seen me do this kind of thing before, but I'm going to do an int of high score, and I'm going to set that equal to -1. And I'm going to do an int of low score, and I'm going to set that equal to 101. That will force the first time through, the first score that we read in that's valid will become both the high score and the low score. That's forcing that to happen. So I'm going to put some comments in here when we get done, but if test score is greater than our high score, we got a new high score. So high score equals test score. Good. If test score is less than low score, we've got a new low score. All right. I think I've handled everything. All right, except once we fall out of this while loop, then the average score is going to be equal to, and I'm going to cast that as a double, the number of scores I need to figure out the total. Let's see. So I've got sum score, num score, and let's make a tot score. And that'll be 0 as well. That's going to be all of them added up. So we'll want to come in here and that's our, oh, we've already got that. That's the sum of the scores. I'm sorry. So that'll be sum scores. Let's just float them both. All right. And then when we're all done, we want to print out the following. So I'm going to show you something, and it's going to be done a little bit differently than we've done it before. I'm going to put everything that I print out into one string. So I'm going to say here string message, and I'm going to set it equal to the empty string. I'm going to set it equal to nothing. All right, and I'm just going to build this string incrementally. So I'm going to say sum plus equals number of scores plus num scores dot toString. So that's going to say, for example, something like number of scores, and then it'll have colon like 3. They show in the book. So what's wrong here? You're not going to convert a string to an int. Oh, that's because this is message. Okay. All right, and I'm just going to keep adding to this message. Plus equals sum of test scores. Now I could play with this if I wanted to and really line stuff up well, but I'm not going to be that concerned with it. So this is sum scores dot toString, and then message plus equal average test score, and that's going to be the average score. And it looks like they did it to 1 decimal place, so N1. All right, and then the lowest test score. That over so they line up kind of nice. And that'll be plus low score dot toString. And finally, the highest. That should be everything. And then when we're all done, we'll need a read line. So it stops. Now, I'm going to go back and explain everything in just a moment. But before I do that, all right, I also want to say do a write line of message. Okay. Now, before I do that, though, I'm going to run it. And I'm going to use the examples that are in the text to see if it all works. So I don't know if you can, oops, I'll remember someday to do that. Reset this. Set as start a project. Now let me try this. There we go. Hopefully now you can see on your screen my actual run that I'm going to be doing that's in right here. So I'm doing it the same things they show in the book. So I'm going to put in a 70. Please enter a test score, -1. Invalid score. Enter a score, 80. Enter a score, 101. Invalid score. Enter a score, 90. Enter another score, 999. Well, let's see though. 3, 240, 80, 70. And if the last one for the highest is 90, which it should be, it all works. So let me pretty it up a bit. All right. So everywhere we're printing this out here, we need a \n. Now you may not be able to see this. I'll change my my share in just a second. All right. So I came back in here and just added some \n's in there. But let's just take a look at it. All right. Trying to map it up with the specs. There's no clear. There's no exit because it's a console program. But we've got what? We've got 3 possible conditions. First, they entered a number that was between 0 and 100. So it was between min score and max score. If we did that, we accepted it and asked for another one. All right. If they entered 999, that was our stop value, or stop program. All right. We accepted the score. I'm sorry. We ignored the score and did not display an error message, but we did display the number of scores, the sum, the average, the min, and the max, and the program ended. If they entered something that was less than 0 or greater than 100, we ignored the score, we displayed an error message, and we prompted them to enter another score. So as far as what you see in here, these were our program constants. I had a min score of 0, a max score of 100. The stop program value was 999. You can call these anything you want. And this, just to keep it in vogue with what they had in the book, they had in here invalid score, like that. Okay. All right. Then in main, this would be the current test score. This would be the sum of all valid test scores. This would be the number of valid test scores. This would be the highest valid test score. This would be the lowest valid test score. This would be the average test score. So in other words, again, this would be sum divided by num. All right, so sum scores divided by num scores. Okay, so sum scores divided by num scores. Make this AVG so it all shows on the screen. There we go. This will be our final output message. All right. So what I did here was I declared and initialized the local variables. Here I declared and initialized program constants. Good. So we put this into a loop. Now we wanted to make sure that test score was valid to begin with, so we couldn't make 999. If it was 999, it would skip all this. So we just set it equal to 0. All right, which forced us to get inside of here. And it said, please enter a test score. We assuming you entered it right there, and boom. And we converted it to a number. If it was 999, we just said, break, get out of there. Get out of the loop. All right. Otherwise, if it was so, this check for program end value, oops, which was again 999. This read in a new test score. All right. This was check for an out of range test score, which again was less than 0 or greater than 100. All right. If we get down to here, the test score inputted was valid. Since it is valid, we want to do all of our work now. So if it was 999, we want to get out. If it was invalid, we just want to write the invalid message. And if it was valid, we want to do all this stuff. So we want to first increment number of valid test scores. We want to increment total number of valid test score points. Here we want to check, see if we have a new high test score. And here we want to go and check and see if we have a new low test score. All right. And then finally, once we fall out, so I'm going to put a little comment here that just says end while loop. All right. Start while loop. Okay. And now that I'm out, calculate average test score. And here, set message variable to final output values. And finally, display message and then do the read line. So one more time to make sure I didn't break anything. I'm going to run it one last time and I'm going to change my share so you can see it when I run it. I'm gonna make this nice and big, so hopefully we can all see it. I'm just gonna put in a bunch of random stuff. So please enter a test score. If I leave it blank or put in something non-numeric, the program will break. I don't want to do that. All right, so let's put in a couple bad things. Invalid score. Invalid score. 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88, 99. You should always check your fringe values. So 100 should be okay. 101 should not be okay. 1 should be okay. 0 should be okay, but -1 should not be okay. And then finally 999. Now, before we hit enter, which I'll do in a second, all right, how many valid scores did we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it should say that. It should say number of scores 11. I don't have a clue as to what the sum is. So what did I say? I said there were 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So why is it giving me 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that one's invalid. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's correct. Now we could add these together ourselves to verify it, but I have no reason to not think that it is 563. 563 divided by 10 would be a 56.3. Our lowest was that 0, and our highest was that 100. All right. So let me change my share one more time. All right. So we have reviewed what was due for the chapters 1 through 3. I did a few, I don't know, something like about 5 of the examples from your homework. All right. And again, there'll be no repo for this. The video will be up on Teams only in a couple minutes. Once it's up, I will put an email out there to you. Please click it. And if you cannot get to that, you'll have to let me know. All right, you'll have to let me know. Okay, then as it says, you still have to do all problems, including the ones that I just did. Again, there's no class on Monday. Tuesday will be lab because I kind of took away most of your lab period today going over these. So you will have a lab for the entire period on Tuesday. I will be online, but I'm not going to be taping anything. So you'll probably just see a message like this, and I'll be working on other things. Wednesday will be the hands-on test for the entire period. It will be emailed out to you by 8 a.m. and due by midnight. Thursday, we will go over chapter 6, and if there's time, we'll go over chapter 7. The homework that we just talked about. Now, when I say the chapters 4 and 5 homework, what that means is the chapters 4 and 5 homework, the chapters 4 and 5 labs, the chapters 4 and 5 written tests. All that stuff is due by 11:59 p.m. Sunday, 9/11. All right. So with what we've gone over today, either talking about the GitHub stuff in a Git, or reviewing the chapters 1 to 3, or the problems we just did. Any of you watching live here, do any of you have any questions? All right, then hopefully you understand what's going to be happening on Monday, no class, Tuesday lab, Wednesday test, Thursday lecture, Friday lab of next week. All right, then have a nice Labor Day, enjoy your 3-day weekend, and I will see you all online at least on Tuesday. Have a good one.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.